بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أحسن الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Okay, so this is the second of two lessons on the subject of the evil eye, and this fits into the series of lessons in the sense that in the first series of lessons we covered the issue of ruqya itself, the meaning of ruqya, its understanding, its ruling in Islam, its conditions, how it's practically implemented, and so on and so forth. And this new series is speaking about the issues or the things which are treated by the ruqya. So we've done the ruqya, and now what are the issues which are treated by the ruqya? So in this series of two lessons we've covered the evil eye, and after this we will cover magic and then possession and so on and so forth. So in the last lesson that we had, we went through the meaning of al-ayn, and we established from the Quran and from the Sunnah that al-ayn haqqun, that it is real and true. Right? The evil eye and the effect of the evil eye is real and true, and that the evil eye can have an effect in different ways. It can either make a person ill, severely ill. It can make a person lose his he can be lose his senses, his memory, and he can be touched by like jinn, like possession by jinn. It can also make him even die. It can even cause death, and this is the seriousness of the evil eye. And then we looked at many evidences from the Quran and from the Sunnah which establish each of these points, that it can either kill, it can either cause someone to be ill, and so on and so forth. So there were many evidences we looked at, and then we began the section on how the evil eye is to be treated. How do we treat the evil eye? And basically this was divided into two separate sections. First of all, how do you protect yourself from being afflicted with the evil eye before it occurs? Right? So what steps do you take to save yourself from the evil eye before it actually occurs? And the second section is, what do you do after the evil eye has afflicted a person? So before and after. In the last lesson we went through the steps that you take before the evil eye harms you, and this was done in two ways. First of all, and there are two legislated ways, so these are ways and means from the Sharia. So from them that we mentioned was, first of all, the taqwa of Allah, having piety of Allah, and making constant remembrance of Him. Constant remembrance by using the adhkar, the remembrances which are in the Sharia, which are legislated. So from the points that were made in this section was basically that when a person has strong iman, his iman is strong, and he fulfills the obligations, and he keeps away from the prohibitions, and he keeps away from sins, and his iman is generally strong, then this is from the greatest of the things that will protect him from being harmed by the evil eye. And then the hadith was mentioned when in which the Prophet ﷺ said to Abdullah ibn Abbas, if you ihfadillah yahfaduk, that if you be mindful of Allah, if you preserve and be mindful of Allah and preserve His duties, then He will watch over you, He will guard you, and He will protect you. And so this hadith was used to indicate this meaning, that if you have taqwa of Allah, then Allah will in turn protect you, and that this is from the greatest of the ways and means by which a person can protect himself from the evil eye, meaning having strong iman and keep one's iman strong. Also what was mentioned was reading the last two verses from Surah Al-Baqarah, the last two verses in Surah Al-Baqarah. Also reciting Ayatul Kursi, and the hadith in that regard was mentioned regarding Abu Hurairah and the incident which happened with him. And likewise reciting the last two surahs in the Quran, the Mu'awwadhatayn, reciting them often, reciting them frequently. And there were many ahadith that were mentioned regarding this, and how the Prophet ﷺ used to recite these two surahs along with Qul Huwallahu Ahad when he would go to sleep, and the manner in which he would do it, he would blow into his hands and so on and so forth. So that these surahs should always be used to perform ruqya upon oneself, and in order to protect oneself in general from the various types of evil. Also from the points that were mentioned were just generally using the ta'awwadat, like the various wordings that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam would use in order to protect himself. Amongst them, for example, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامة من كل شيطان وهامة ومن كل عين لامة. That I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah from every shaitan and every vermin or pest, and from every blameful eye, every evil eye basically. So there are many hadith which are reported like this, in which the Messenger ﷺ said that if you recite such and such, then it will not, nothing will harm you. So there are many hadith like this. So again, going back to these adhkar and learning them and reciting them and so on and so forth. So this was the first thing where a person increases his iman and he sticks to the adhkar in the sharia and he recites them frequently. The second thing, which is like something that prevents the evil eye, is at-tabrik. At-tabrik is when you call for Allah's blessings upon something that you have seen and which amazes you, which pleases you and which amazes you. And when a person doesn't make tabrik, this is one of the reasons why the evil eye actually occurs. So you see something, you like it, it's nice, and it surprises you, it amazes you, and you don't say nothing. In your heart you feel that this thing it's amazed you, it's pleased you and whatever, and you have this feeling towards it, but you don't call for Allah's blessing upon it. This is one of the reasons why the evil eye occurs. And as the Messenger ﷺ said in a hadith that we've been through before, mentioned before in the previous lesson, that when one of you sees in his self and in his wealth or in his brother that which amazes him, then let him call for barakah. Let him invoke Allah to place blessing in that thing in which he has seen. And so an example of how this would take place is a person would say, when a person sees something and with his eye, and which he has found to be amazing or pleasing or whatever, he says, Tabarakallahu ahsan al-khaliqeen. How blessed is Allah, the best of all creators. Or he might say, Allahumma barak fih. Allah place blessing in that thing. Or Allahumma barak alayh. Allah place blessing upon that thing. Or barakallahu fih. May Allah place blessing in that thing. So all of these meanings, when a person, this is what a person should say when he sees something like this. And then we finished on the point where, just like you yourself wouldn't like somebody else to give you the evil eye. So let's say, for example, you have something, and maybe you have a new car or something, or maybe, I don't know what it is, you have something. Just like you wouldn't like to be afflicted with the evil eye because somebody else didn't make tabrik. So just in the same way, you yourself should make it from your own habit to constantly make tabrik whenever you see things with other people, or you see things with other people. So this is how it is. That if each one of us as individuals don't give attention to this thing, then that means that we're just leaving the room open for the evil eye to afflict many people. So this was where we finished in the last lesson. So inshallah we continue the rest of this subject by looking at the issue of how do we treat the evil eye after it occurs. So now we know the preventative measures, now we know what we need to do to stop the evil eye. What happens when the evil eye has actually occurred? So again, there are two different situations that can exist. The first situation that can exist is that we know the individual who was responsible for the evil eye. This is the first situation. In this case, the treatment is fairly easy. The treatment is fairly easy. It's simply a matter of making this person who was responsible for the evil eye to wash himself, to make ghusl with water, and then to use that water, and then for the person who's inflicted with the evil eye to wash himself with it. So that's simple. And the second example, or the second situation, is when we don't know who was responsible for the evil eye. We don't know who it is. And in this situation, the treatment is that a person, he recourses to Allah, and he seeks refuge with Allah, and he constantly makes the ruqya in the manner that we've discussed in the previous lessons, and he applies this ruqya in this manner, and he has sabr upon that up until Allah removes this this harm. So now to look at each of these two situations in more detail. So as for the first situation, when a person is inflicted with the evil eye and we know who the responsible person was, then the issue is clear in the Sharia, in that person has been commanded to make iktisal, to wash himself for the person with the evil eye. And there are numerous evidences for this that we've looked at before. First of all, the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said, al-aynu haqqun, that the evil eye is true, and if there was anything that preceded al-qadr, if there was anything that would precede al-qadr, then it would have been the evil eye. وَإِذَا اسْتُغْسِلْتُمْ فَاغْسِلُوا. And at the end of the hadith, the messenger says, and when you are asked to make ghusl, then make ghusl. What this means is, if someone comes to you and says, okay, I believe you might have given me the evil eye, so please make ghusl for me, then what it means is that you have to make ghusl. This is a command. You have to make ghusl. And Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he comments upon this hadith, and he says that in this hadith there is an indication that this affair used to be known and understood between them. Meaning that this was something that was understood amongst the Sahaba, that when someone comes to you and asks you to make ghusl for you in order to take your water and then to obviously wash themselves with it, that the person is not to refuse, that you shouldn't refuse. And then another hadith, which again is an evidence for this, is the hadith that we looked at in the previous lessons, in which one of the Sahaba called Sahal bin Hanif was given the evil eye by another one from the Sahaba called Amir bin Rabi'a. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came across this situation, he said, "Ightasil lahu." So he commanded Amir to make ghusl for Sahal bin Hanif. Okay, now we've established that. So this is the ruling in the Sharia. So this is the treatment when we know who the person was, and we've established a ruling in the Sharia that when you are asked to make ghusl, then you must make ghusl. Now, what is the actual characteristics of this ghusl? How is it to be performed? And this is again found in the Sharia, even though we haven't found anything that has been specifically defined by the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we don't find anything specific from the Messenger saying that, when you make ghusl for the one with the evil eye, then do such and such or such and such. We don't find that. All we find is that he commanded with this command that when you are asked to make ghusl, then you must make it. So the reason why this might have been is because, as Ibn Hajar says, that the way to do this ghusl was actually already known and understood amongst the Sahaba, which is why we don't find an elaboration of that. But anyway, we do find in one hadith that there is like in the same hadith of Amir bin Rabi'a, when he gave the evil eye to Sahal bin Hanif, we find that when he made the ghusl after the Messenger commanded him, he washed his face, and he washed his two hands, and he washed up to his elbows, and he washed up to his knees, and he washed the inside of his izar. Right? So he washed the inside of his izar. And with this water, he washed all of this into a vessel, and then that vessel of water was used to pour the water upon Sahal bin Hanif, and Sahal bin Hanif, he stood up as if there was nothing, there was nothing wrong with him. So this is basically what we find in the Sunnah, in the Sharia, regarding how this should be done. And then some scholars, they are of the view, or there are some narrations which state that the vessel in which a person washes himself shouldn't be placed upon the earth, and it should be carried. Right? So it should be held by someone else, and it shouldn't be placed upon the earth. And some of the scholars have rejected this and said that, this is just an addition to the narrations, and this contradicts what is reported by Imam Malik. So really, we shouldn't really give this any attention or any great consideration. So anyway, so this is how it is. The face is washed, the hands are washed up to the elbows, likewise up to the two knees, and up to the feet as well, the extremities of the feet, and likewise the inside of a person's garment, the izar. And why this happens, we'll explain this a bit later, inshallah. So anyway, this is how ghusl is to be done, and the way that we look at this ikhtisal, this washing that is done, is the same way that we look at tabrik. Right? So if you remember earlier on, tabrik is done as a means of preventing the harm of the evil eye. Right? This is before it occurs. And likewise, the issue of the ghusl is similar to tabrik. The ghusl is like tabrik in the sense that when this ghusl is made and the water is taken and the person afflicted with the evil eye uses it, that this removes the harm of the evil eye. So tabrik prevents it before it actually occurs, and the ghusl prevents it or removes it after the ghusl actually occurs. So they both play like a similar role. Then we move on to the actual Sharia ruling. Just to clarify, the Sharia ruling for a person when he's asked to make the ghusl, then this is already clear, and we've already mentioned that it is wajib because of the fact that the Messenger ﷺ said to Amir bin Rabi'a, "Ightasil lahu." This is a command. He made a command. And the command, in fact, there are two ahadith. This one in which he commanded Amir, "Ightasil lahu," and the earlier one when he said, وَإِذَا اسْتُغْسِلْتُمْ فَاغْسِلُوا, that when you are asked to make ghusl, then make it. Again, a command as well, two commands. So this shows that in the Sharia, when we have a command and there's nothing else to take it away from being a command, this now makes it to be wajib. It now becomes wajib. And this is what the scholars have said, like Ibn Abdul Bar. He said that the one who gave the evil eye, he is to be commanded to make ghusl by way of obligation. It is wajib upon him. And even if he refuses, then in my opinion, he is to be forced to make ghusl. Because the command here, meaning in these two ahadith, is by way of obligation, by way of wujub, by way of obligation. And it's not desirable for any person, that when he's asked to make ghusl, that he refrains and he keeps away from his brother what will benefit his brother. This is not desirable that that the person should do this, especially when he was the one who was responsible for that, and when he was the one who was responsible for the crime upon that person, meaning by giving him the evil eye. So it is obligatory upon the one who gave the evil eye to make ghusl, in my view, and Allah knows best. Now, this is a statement of Ibn Abdul Bar to establish that this is obligatory. And likewise, he brings a statement of Al-Maziri, who says that it is obligatory upon the one who gave the evil eye to do this, and it is this judgment is to be passed upon him, meaning that he must make this ghusl when he is requested to do that, especially when it is feared that the one who has been given the evil eye might even perish, meaning that he is ill to such a degree, or that he's close to dying. So in this case, obviously, this person must be made to make the ghusl for him. Now, there's another question then, which is, what happens when a person just refuses? Right? So we know that a person, we know the person who gave the evil eye, but he he's withholding from making the ghusl and giving the water. And the author of this book, he says that I haven't found anything in the books that I've come across, the books of the scholars, in which the scholars have spoken about this issue. I haven't found any words or anything that discusses this specific issue. That when a person, he's asked to make ghusl because he gave the evil eye, but he refuses and he doesn't do that. So what should be done? And he says that, he says that the only thing that I found was what was said by Ibn Abdul Bar, which is that you should force such a person. To make the ghusl. But it might be the situation that we're not in a position to force this person, so what happens then? What happens when we can't force this person to make ghusl and to give the water? And he says basically what we can do, or what should be done in this situation, is that when a person doesn't give the water, then we should request him for some of his clothes, his or her clothes, some of the clothes that he's been wearing, and then which have touched his body, and then you take those clothes and then you wash them or rinse them with the water, and then with that water it should be given to the one who was inflicted with the evil eye, which he washes himself with in order to treat himself with. And he says that this is something that has been practiced, and in experience it's been found that a person is actually cured by the will, by the permission of Allah. And he says that the reason why this action is permissible and there's no harm in this action is because, first of all, when we go back to that hadith of Amir bin Rabi'a, when Amir bin Rabi'a was ordered to make ghusl, we found that Amir, what he did, if you remember, washed his hands, washed his face, up to his elbows, to his knees and his feet, and then he washed the inside of his izar. Right? So he washed the inside of his izar. And obviously we know that the izar touches the body, and whatever is taken off the body when the water touches the body, then because the body has touched the izar or the clothing, then likewise the same thing will be taken from the clothing, because it's been in touch with the body. So this is one angle. And the second angle is that we don't find anything in the Sharia which warns or cautions from this practice. There's nothing which actually warns from this practice. Rather, what we find is that in the Sharia there's actually a basis for this practice. In the hadith regarding Amir bin Rabi'a and Sahal bin Hanif, because he washed the inside of his izar and all of that water together was taken. So the author is saying that basically when a person basically refuses to give the water, and we can't force him, then this is what we should ask him: that give us some clothes that you've been wearing, which have been in direct contact with your skin, and then you use that to wash those clothes, rinse those clothes with the water, and give that to the person afflicted with the evil eye. Okay, now the next issue: what is the wisdom behind the person who gave the evil eye washing himself and giving that water to the one who was given the evil eye? Is there a wisdom? Is there a hikmah? Is there a hikmah? And the answer to this is, if you remember before, when we looked at a similar issue before regarding the evil eye, like how does the evil eye work? How physically can we explain how it works? And we said that basically there's nothing in the Sharia that mentions how the evil eye works, and we don't need to know how the evil eye works. We just know that it's true and it's real, and we have iman in it, and we take the measures in order to protect ourselves from it. So again, a similar issue here. What is the wisdom in taking the water from that's been used to wash the body of the one who gave the evil eye and giving it to the one who was harmed by the evil eye? What's the wisdom in that? And the answer here is that we've already said before, and this is a general principle in the Sharia regarding the issue of Aqidah and other affairs, that whether we understand something or not, whether our intellect can grasp something or not, it makes no difference. We have to still have iman in whatever occurs in the Sharia. Whether we understand the wisdom or not, and whether we understand the issue itself or not, makes no difference. We still have to have iman regarding that. And to have iman in that is something which will increase our overall iman. And when we look at the sayings of the scholars, we find that the scholars, again, they differ. Some scholars are of the view that that this is an issue that we can't really explain by saying, well, okay, the reason why I do it is because such and such. It's one of those issues that you just simply cannot explain. And from the scholars who are of this view, from the scholars who are of this view and who explain this are scholars like Ibn al-Arabi and al-Maziri, and again there are some statements from them here. I'll just quickly mention what they've said. Like al-Maziri, he says that the washing that is done, the ghusl that is made for the person with the evil eye, is something that we can't really give an explanation for or a reason for, and we can't really understand the angle. Why is it done? Because of the fact that the intellect is such that it can't understand some of these like really hidden affairs. The intellect can't comprehend these affairs, right? So there's no like known reason as to why this is done, so we shouldn't delve into that. And similarly, the statement of Ibn al-Arabi al-Maliki, the famous scholar, again there's a lengthy statement here, and again he simply says the same thing, that the wisdom of Allah, the Mighty and Majestic, is like, and this is an issue in which the intellects really they can't arrive at this issue, they can't arrive at understanding this issue. And one of the issues which are like this is the issue of the person who gave the evil eye washing himself and giving that to the person who was afflicted with the evil eye. That this is one of those issues that the intellect just simply can't comprehend it. It's one of those affairs which lies with Allah, the wisdom of it lies with Allah, and it's something that we just simply can't enter into. So anyway, this is the view of some of the scholars, and some other scholars like Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he gives like a kind of explanation, and he gives an explanation of the wisdom, and the gist of what he says, the essence of what he says, as he mentions in Zadul Ma'ad, is basically he says that this water that the person who gave the evil eye, that he washes himself with, this water, when he does that and when he's commanded to do that, it kind of extinguishes that feeling that he has inside, or that thing or that feeling or whatever it was that gave the evil eye. So it extinguishes that from him. And then that same water, when it's given to the person who was inflicted with the evil eye, then it has the same effect. So just like it removed that like evil feeling or that evil thing that the person had who gave the evil eye, just like it extinguished that, then likewise the effect of that evil feeling that was put into the person with the evil eye, then likewise it will remove that as well. It will wash that away as well. This is basically the essence of what Ibn al-Qayyim is saying here as being like the wisdom behind using that water to take it from the one with who gave the evil eye to the one who was given the evil eye. So and then he just finishes by saying that we can see that there is a link, and there's like a tie between wisdom and the Sharia, right? There's a tie between wisdom and the Sharia, and both of them go together. You don't find one of them without the other. That there's always a benefit and a wisdom in the affairs that are found in the Sharia. So anyway, Ibn al-Qayyim is the only one that the author found who gave an explanation as to why the ghusl is made. But anyway, our position in this issue is that even though this could be a plausible explanation, this is like an explanation that could obviously very well explain why it happens, we neither reject it nor do we accept it completely, right? So our position is, okay, it's there, it's plausible, it's possible that's the case, so we neither accept it and say, well, yes, that is definitely the case, why the wisdom behind it, nor do we say, no, well, that can't be the case. We just say that it's a possible explanation, and Allah knows best. And then there is, so this is the first situation when we know who gave the evil eye. Now we come to the final situation, which is when we don't know who gave the evil eye, when we don't know who was responsible, and this occurs often. This is mostly the case, that we don't know who is responsible for the evil eye. And the answer to this, the keyword to this is, the answer to this is that a person basically, he returns to Allah, he recourses to Allah, the Mighty and Majestic, and he makes constant ruqya and he makes the adhkar and so on and so forth. And this is proven by the following ahadith. The first hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, who said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he commanded me with many commands, and from those commands were that ruqya should be made against the evil eye. Right? So this is just a general command to make ruqya, to protect oneself by making ruqya against the evil eye. Another hadith from Salama radiallahu anha, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, or that he saw in her house, there was a slave girl who had this like black spot, large like black spot upon her face. And the Messenger ﷺ said, make ruqya for her, for verily she has the evil eye. There is the evil eye upon her. So again, another command, showing that the Messenger would command seeking refuge from, making ruqya from the evil eye. Third hadith from Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhu, who said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he said to Asma bint Umays, he said that why is it that I see the children of my brother, that their bodies, I see them like so weak and emaciated and like skinny, and as if like they are in some sort of like need or whatever. So she said, meaning that he saw the bodies, they were like very weak and like malnourished and things like that. And so she replied, no, but it is the evil eye which rushes towards them. It's the evil eye which comes towards them. So the Messenger said, make ruqya upon them. Make ruqya upon them. So then she said, I turned towards him, and then he said again, make ruqya upon them. So again, another command from the Messenger ﷺ to make ruqya upon one's children. When you see that they are not really appearing well and so on and so forth. And from Anas radiallahu anhu, who said that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave permission. So these are 4 hadith. There are many others, and all of them establish that they show that ruqya should be made by the person who has the evil eye, or it should be made for someone else who has the evil eye, like when they are your children or whatever else. And this is clear. We know that the Messenger ﷺ wouldn't command something unless it contained goodness, and unless it was from the ways and means that lead to the cure of the evil eye. So this shows that that this is how the person should be constant and regular in making this ruqya. Okay, now which specific ruqya? Is there something specific? Is there something specific from the Quran? Is there something specific from, how should this ruqya be made? And the answer is that when we look in the Sharia, we don't find a specific ruqya for the evil eye. We don't find that in the Quran or the Sunnah that there's a specific ruqya just for the evil eye. What we do find is that what we do find is that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum would just present the ruqyas that they would use to the Messenger ﷺ, and then he would confirm and he would say, well, okay, yes, this is okay, this ruqya is okay. And so we don't find anything specific regarding the evil eye itself. But when we look in the Quran, when we look in the Sunnah in general, and likewise what Ibn al-Qayyim has said, he says that in fact, he mentions the cure for the evil eye, and he says that Ibn al-Qayyim says that when we look at the treatments that are found in the Sharia, then we find it is the following: that you often recite the Mu'awwadhatayn, the last 2 surahs, and likewise Suratul Fatiha, and likewise Ayatul Kursi, and likewise the various other remembrance, the ta'awwadat that the Prophet ﷺ would use, that we've already mentioned some of them. And so all of these affairs are to be used in respect to the evil eye, and we don't find that there's something specific or unique regarding the evil eye. And then we have a specific hadith which actually does mention, in fact it mentions the evil eye within this ruqya, and from it is what is reported by Abu Sa'id that Jibreel, that he came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said oh Muhammad, did you complain about something? And he said, yes. Then Jibreel made a ruqya upon the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, in the name of Allah, I perform ruqya upon you from everything that will harm you, from the evil of every soul, or from the jealous eye. May Allah cure you, and in the name of Allah, I perform ruqya upon you. And this is like one example which was done by Jibreel upon the Prophet ﷺ. But in general, there isn't anything specific that we say, okay, you've got the evil eye, let's just use this specific hadith or this this wording or this ayah or this surah or whatever. There's nothing like that. In general, it can be for the surah Fatiha, it can be the Mu'awwadhatayn, it can be Ayatul Kursi, and it can be whatever else. So finally then, this concludes this section on the evil eye. And just to summarize basically the points in these two lessons, the evil eye is true and it's real. We have iman in it, we have faith in it, we believe in it, and we accept that the evil eye is very serious and it can have a very harmful effect. It can make people ill, it can make people die, it can make people be like possessed or to lose their faculty of like awareness and consciousness and so on and so forth. And as we saw in one hadith, that after the qada of Allah and His qadr, most of the people of the ummah die as a result of the evil eye. This is a hadith that we saw in the previous ummah, previous lesson, that most of those who die from my ummah, أكثر من يموت من أمتي بعد قضاء الله وقدره, that most of those who die from my ummah after the qada of Allah and His qadr is from the evil eye. This is a hadith that we looked at in the last lesson. So this shows this is something extremely serious, and all of this happens, of course, by Allah's permission. This happens by Allah's permission. And the Messenger ﷺ has explained to us very clearly how we protect ourselves from the evil eye, both before it occurs and after it occurs. So before, it's by increasing our iman, making our iman strong, and adhering to the taqwa of Allah, the mighty and majestic, and making the adhkar, all of the remembrances at the various times, and just fortifying oneself so that one's iman stays strong, so that the evil eye can't affect us by the permission of Allah. And secondly, by always making tabreek, by asking for Allah's barakah upon anything that we see that's found within the Muslim, which we find pleasing or which we are amazed with. And as for after the evil eyes has befallen, then first of all, it's in a situation where we know who it was. In this case, we ask the person to make iktisal, we take that water and we wash ourselves with it. And finally, if we don't know, then obviously we constantly perform the ruqya upon ourselves, and we remain upon this, and we have sabr upon this, and we keep upon this for as long as it takes, up until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes this harm from us. And so inshallah, this finishes the subject on the evil eye. And the next lesson we will talk about as-sara', which is the issue of, again, like being kind of possessed, or like losing one's faculties of understanding and memory, and stumbling and falling to the ground and this type of thing. So that will be the next thing that we'll be looking at, which is from the four things. Remember, there are four things: the evil eye, like possession, or this type of being possession. Thirdly, magic, and fourthly, harms which come from like scorpion stings and bites and things like that. So these are four things that we're going to cover. So inshallah, we'll cover that in the next lesson, which inshallah ta'ala will be in 2 weeks' time.